After 16 years, Disney has released Camp Rock 3, a movie that's been rumored just as much as it's been requested by fans. Granted, a lot of people wanted it to happen like a decade ago, but hey, better late than never, I guess. So considering not too long ago I covered the first two films, I figured there was no way I'd miss completing the trilogy. I'm interested to see how I'll react to this too, considering I haven't watched a single Disney Channel original movie made in the past 10 years. I've seen this movie has black bars now, and I was getting serious, oh man. This movie mixes the old with the new in just about every single way. But the question is, did this method end up resulting in a good film? And more importantly, does the film's quality justify digging up the franchise after so many years? Well, let's find out. Camp Rock 3 premiered on Disney Channel, honestly like a couple hours ago at the time of me writing this. Your boy on that grind. Like I said in the intro, this movie has been rumored and teased for a long time now, but things didn't pick up until about last year when multiple sources were reporting that a third film was officially in development. One of those sources being Joe Jonas himself on an episode of Hot Ones. Shout out Joe for real. Eventually we got the official announcement accompanied by the full cast showing the list of both the new and recurring characters. Unsurprisingly, considering the film is made for kids of today, the cast is primarily composed of new faces, but also considering the Jonas Brothers had a helping hand in producing this film, it's quite appropriate that they also have supporting roles in it. The only other cast member that was announced ahead of time to appear in this film was Connie Torres, aka Mitchie's mom. Anyway, as for the new faces, we have Lumi Pollock, Hudson Stone, Leah Monty, and Casey Trotter. Though one of the newer actors that appears in this film who you might actually recognize is Malachi Burton, who for whatever reason is in like a million Disney Channel projects. I heard there's some drama with him too, but I'm a grown man, so I won't be doing any research on that. I'm sure someone will inform me in the comments. Right off the bat, one thing I'm really glad this movie does is that it centers the central story around something the previous two haven't, and that, simply put, competition. For a brief rundown on the story, Connect 3's opening act drops out last minute, and so now with their big tour on the horizon, the brothers, yes brothers, I don't know why everyone acts like Camp Rock 2 didn't retcon that, are now tasked with finding a new opening act. And they figure what better place to look than Camp Rock. After all, it is the place where Connect 3 connected. They give a little speech in the beginning of the movie talking about how they're leaving their assistant Lark in charge of choosing which kids get selected to embark on this journey with them. It's a little funny though that Connect 3, instead of just asking any of the other in-universe bands or musical acts they surely know to fill in, opt to go to a camp filled with a bunch of teenagers they've never met to go on a multi-month long tour. Like, do they just expect everything to go right? Pretty sure nobody's label is allowing that to happen in the real world, but hey, makes for good entertainment, I guess. It's then when the main cast of the movie comes in. Leah Monty and Hudson Stone play Sage and Desi Scott. I gotta give it to the writers of this movie. They sure knew what to do to make nearly every individual facet of the film feel different than the first two. It brought in new elements of the films that just didn't exist before, like the concept of siblings being at Camp Rock. Aside from Connect 3, who weren't even really campers and weren't even really siblings in the first one, no one major in the first two films had any prominent siblings. It's something so simple that just never occurred to me could potentially lead to some interesting stories. And I'd say in this case, it does. This is a non-spoiler review, so I won't go into specifics, but the main theme of the movie is centered around competition and winning. The movie asks nearly every set of characters not only what are they willing to do to win, but if winning is all that matters in the end. It also deals with the different pressures one might face after they do potentially win. So in the case of the two siblings, are they going to let their blood and bond get in the way of coming out victorious? Especially since the movie starts with them already not being on super great terms thanks to a similar situation. Lumi Pollock's character Rosie is another one that wants to throw it all on the line if it means winning, especially after coming out of her shell and comfort zone. Throwing it all on the line, however, is exactly what concerns her, because what if she does that, but it doesn't end up with a win? Is she just going to have to go back to being quiet and reserved? Other characters deal with other problems of their own, but predictably, the movie's answer to all of them is that it's not always about winning, or at the very least, you're not a failure if you don't. For them, and not to quote another famous Disney star, but the journey is usually the part that you remember anyways. Like my GOAT Russell Westbrook says, win, lose, or draw, just keep having fun. Man, I'm gonna miss him. While watching this movie, I kind of forgot it was a decom, probably because of how much different it looks than the ones I'm accustomed to seeing. So because of that, I had some really interesting predictions on where I thought the plot would go and how they would handle the whole competitive aspect. I had a prediction that one of the characters was lying about something in order to get into the other contestants' heads and gain their sympathy, or that somebody was going to get close to somebody just to gain information out of them, then use that information against them when they're least expecting it. And then I remembered this is a Disney Channel film, and well, they don't really do any of that. Silly me. Now, to finally answer the question, is this movie good? Well, I went in with really low expectations, and also worth noting is that, as some of you may know, Camp Rock isn't really a Disney property I have a ton of nostalgia for to begin with. That being said, I can't lie. Y'all might hate me for this, but this might be the best Camp Rock movie. I think 1 and 2, as iconic as they are just kind of average kids films because, well, they are, objectively. I like 2 over 1 because of how much larger everything felt, even down to them embracing a more musical-inspired style for the musical numbers, which, fortunately, by the way, they do in this one as well. But I'm being so real. This is the most surprised I've ever been by a movie I've covered on this channel. Low expectations help, but even after the initial shock wore off, I can't help but think how much this movie mogs the other two. It's not some fantastic piece of art, but it's considerably better than a lot of the other DCOMs I've reviewed on this channel. To start with the positive, I never realized how little the first 2 films took advantage of the setting they were in. It's like 50 different DCOMs that tell the story of being yourself. You don't have to be at a camp to get that message across. This one actually uses the concept of the final jam, plus the actual motivation considering what winning would mean for their careers, as a way to tell a story about why giving it all up to win might not be the move, and that there might be more important things in life. I'm glad this movie didn't just heat up the first 2's nachos. Matter of fact, there's a lot more differences than similarities when comparing this movie with the previous installments. I even thought at first that Malachi's character was just going to be another Shane Gray, where he's a misunderstood bad boy, but they didn't really go that route per se. Some characters definitely fill similar voids, but a lot of the movie is pretty original, with the characters themselves having different struggles. The characters in this movie just have more depth in general. I feel like that just comes with the change of times, but there are some characters in this movie that feel pretty original to it. There's still plenty of tropes and cliches, but you can still tell that the writers went out of their way not to just give us the same DCOM character archetypes. Which honestly makes me curious to see if the other modern DCOMs are consistent with that as well, but I wouldn't hold my breath. These characters, or at least a portion of them, feel a lot more real than before and a lot less one-dimensional. As for the movie's cons though, I didn't really have a lot of problems with it, although there are still some improvements I would make. The movie is oddly paced, especially in the beginning. It even feels like a TV show sometimes, even down to some scenes having weird transition music. I also feel like the movie at times tries too hard to force emotional moments that just quite simply aren't there. There's one scene in particular on a bus that I think you guys will be able to catch up on if you do end up watching it. It was very odd, and the mood switched so fast just because I feel like they needed to put in that studio mandated sad scene. It's also still mostly a kid/teen film, though there's definitely some sappy moments that, although will likely make the hearts of tweens everywhere flutter, are pretty reminiscent of other films of its kind. The music is a bit of an interesting scenario though. I was shocked to see just how good some of the original songs were. The movie is at its best when it's letting the new cast, who by the way are talented even if their vocals feel a bit auto-tuned at times, do their own thing and carve their own paths. But as soon as they had them cover the pre-existing Camp Rock songs, I checked out. I think having a few here and there, especially the iconic ones, is fine, but unfortunately they definitely butchered Brand New Day, a song that didn't even need to be included in my opinion, despite it being one of my favorites. It just sounds fake, I don't know. The best cover that they ended up having was We Rock, but considering it's an ensemble song, I feel like it'd be quite hard to mess that up. And yeah, we can talk about the one that recently made its rounds on social media after it was released. Play My Music. Now this one doesn't really sound good at all, but after hearing the snippet that was released, I was pretty easily able to deduce that that was kind of the point. For those unaware, Camp Rock 3's version of Play My Music was used during a montage scene where all the kids at the camp, good and bad, were trying out. So because of that, every few seconds the song switches to a different style sung by different kids. The song sounds like a complete mess, but being honest here, I'm kind of concerned how many people didn't realize that that's what they were going for, even if the audio was released before the visuals were attached. At first, I was turned off too because I loved the original song, which is something you know if you watch my Camp Rock song tier list video out on my second channel now, link in the description. But after listening to it for like 10 seconds, I realized what was going on and got over it. Common sense isn't that common, I guess. That being said, some of these original songs are really solid. Most of the cast, especially Liamani, knows how to sing. My two favorite songs are Play It My Way, which was one of the singles, and Rhythm's Only Right. Genuinely some really fun tracks. And of course, before we wrap things up, we gotta talk about the nostalgia factor of this movie. The Jonas Brothers are not leads in this film, they are merely supporting roles, and yeah, they're good. They have a lot of history acting with each other. Check out my Jonas video. I think that they're in it just enough so it doesn't take away from the new cast members, which ultimately was the main focus of the film. Even as someone that didn't watch the Camp Rock films until later in life, I was honestly a little disappointed that this movie didn't have more returning characters from the original two. But then after watching it, I totally understood why no one else showed up. There's barely any adults in the movie. Matter of fact, the only major adult that wasn't a part of the original cast is Connect 3's assistant. That being said, the presence of the other two films are still felt throughout it. There are some fun Easter eggs planted throughout the movie that Camp Rock purists will totally get, plus a totally unannounced surprise cameo that anyone with a brain could have seen coming, even if he wasn't labeled as part of the cast during the original announcement. Technically, it's not a spoiler because they decided to officially announce it and even share the footage online. Matter of fact, before I recorded this, I just saw that they had it on Good Morning America or something, so it's not really that hidden at all, but I'll still kind of leave it as a surprise. Camp Rock 3 is a fine kids film that might be a little better than it needed to be. I think your enjoyment for this movie will 100% be determined by how willing you are to put nostalgia aside and genuinely put up with this kids film for an hour and a half. Some people can't find it in them to be entertained by kids films that they didn't personally grow up with, which is fine, I get it. I've already seen plenty of people hate on this movie for things that the first and second movies did, but because old good and new bad, suddenly it's an issue. I will say one of the only things that the original films have over this new one is the top end talent. Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers low-key might just be unbeatable. These new kids are talented, but Demi and the Joe Bros are legends. Not many people on this planet can touch them. If you go into Camp Rock 3 with an open mind and perhaps low expectations, you might come out pleasantly surprised. Hey man, last time I checked, it's got a higher score on Letterboxd than the first two, so do with that as you may. What I want to know, though, are your thoughts on the movie, if you've seen it. I'm probably uploading this like a day after it came out. Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Check out my Patreon if you want to see content earlier than everyone else. Also, subscribe to my second channel, simply titled Nostalgia, for more of me. I'm also on TikTok and Letterboxd, so give me a follow in there as well if you'd be so kind. And if you're new, feel free to subscribe and hit that like button. And like always, I am Mr. Nostalgia, for crying out loud, and I'm out for now.